Let's have a look at the now. World champions, won it 3 times, Tendai. There's something in that. We saw it with the All Blacks as well. There's something in that. There's something in being there, having done it, got the T-shirt 3 times over from a South African fan perspective. Just the enormity of that win, because you think about it, you've knocked out the host nations, which some were saying were the favourites.
Yeah, no, there's something, in that, obviously the history, everything, bodes well in our favour, I won't lie. So we've had the experience, we've won 3 World Cups, so, it adds on to our belief. And just to add on to what Paul, has been speaking about, this French team is young. If you can take something from my book, I played in 3 World Cups, and, we lost in the semi-final in England by 2 points, and it was a tough pill to swallow, and we were so close. We lost the first game against Japan. We were so close to make it one of the best comebacks ever. And, it was a tough couple of weeks that came afterwards, but it built, it was part of the journey. It built character. And eventually, I was able to win the World Cup in 2019. So I believe this French team has got so much talent. They can bounce back strong from this. They're going to go back to the drawing board, make a few changes whatsoever, but there's so much talent. So they don't hang your heads too low. You can be proud of what you've achieved. I believe the future is bright. And then in terms of the Springboks, yes, we're on a mission, as I told you, to win back-to-back World Cups. It's never been done before. And Rassie has been planting that seed since 2019. So this team believes, I can tell you for a fact, the experience, the number of caps we have built, the depth we have built over the last 4 years, it really adds on to what we're trying to achieve. But, this is only a quarterfinal. It felt like a final. It felt like we won a final tonight, but it's only a quarterfinal. We still got 2 big games. So let's not let it get to our head too much, because there's still a lot of work to be done ahead.
Yeah. I always say that South Africans are built different. I spent a bit of time down there as a young whippersnapper playing for Natal, playing in Durban, and it made me turn from a boy to a man. I went on there to become a professional rugby player. Paul, I know you can speak to this having roots in South Africa as well. Everyone talks, you look at the South Africans littered across the world, you look at the access that we got in Chasing the Sun with the documentary that came out in 2019. There's just that something special within that group 10. Now, do you know what that is? Like, we did touch on it before, that it looks like you're playing for something a little bit more, something more than rugby. But you just got a way of doing it, a knack of doing it, like the quality of players, the size of humans that you have as well, like unflustered. Like this stadium, when we came in tonight, it was all France. It was crazy. One team that could put out that fire was South Africa. What is it? Just give us an idea of what it is to be a South African.
No, it's truly special. It's the resilience, obviously, as you know, South African history, we've been through a lot. And this, for the guys here, it's a privilege to play on this field representing your country. They look at pressure in a different way. Rassie spoke about it when I was still playing, that, pressure is a privilege, and pressure is not having food on the table, it's not being able to provide for your family. And here you are playing on the biggest stage, representing your country, playing this wonderful game in front of thousands of people. So you better embrace that. And you take that moment in and make the most of it. So that's how the guys look at it, So it's like, obviously the French scored first, and the crowd was so loud. And it could have been hard for any other team to come back from that. But we always dig deeper, that belief that you can rise above, you can come out of the mud and become something greater than yourself. So we did that in a big way today. So that belief is synonymous with every South African. We built so much strength and belief from who we are, our diversity, our culture, who we are, the landscape, and that gives us something of an edge over every team that we face. So it's unfortunate. I feel for the French tonight, man. I really feel for them, because everything was kind of laid out for them to win this game. But just because we're just that team that can step up to the moment, when people count us out and really obviously shock the world, and we did that in a classic fashion tonight. 1 point in it.
It was nothing. Paul, can you speak for that, having grown up in South Africa, like understanding when people talk about that? I don't know whether you want to turn your head to, are you going to support South Africa going forward? But like, you look at the South Africans around the world, a lot of them don't live in South Africa who support. There's so many here tonight, they live all over the world, like littered about, but they come out and support their team. But there is this special, if you can talk about it, a special thing around this team.
Yeah, no, like we said, like I think one thing that keeps South Africans together and make them so eager to face adversities together is because they've been through a lot together. And when you go through tough times, you know, the typical pre-season of a rugby team, when you go through tough times, you get out of that and everybody's together. And I think because life is a bit tough in South Africa, and that just forces people to get together and get behind something. And that's the part of me that I enjoy, that I know comes from South Africa. That's the part where when life got tough, we were forced to get together and you were forced to look forward and take whatever you have and make the best out of it. So I think with the South African team, knowing that the whole country's joy is on their shoulders, it makes you go the extra mile, you know. And besides the fact that this was a team that has so enormous amount of experience. Like we tend to forget about that as well. Like just in the front 8, we said like average caps of 73.
Yeah, 73 caps. Yeah,
man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
it's insane.
We in our whole team's average is like almost like 25, 27, I think, roundabouts.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, and already won 2. Like most of those guys were in the previous group that already won a World Cup. So those small things tonight, when you lose with a point or win with a point, I think, like you said, it's going to just help the younger French team in the future.
Yeah.
If they respond well to this and use it as a learning opportunity, and also burn it in, make it hurt, so that you don't want to go through it again. I think it's going to be important. But yeah, like you said, the experience thing is just going to be different. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on the South Africa and the French team, man.
Yeah, well, it's undeniable that rugby's thriving in France. You only have to look at the energy, the atmosphere, how good this World Cup's been, the top 14, you playing at Montpellier, the crowds that you get, the investment. So rugby's strong in France and will be forevermore. But I just want to turn our heads to the semi-final of South Africa and England. I mean, it's crazy, and I feel bad saying this as a quarter English, and I've got English friends that play for England. I know some of the staff members, played with Richard Wigglesworth, who's now coaching. It's crazy to think that England are in a semi-final, and I say this with all due respect with how they've played. With the kind of kicking style, the kind of slow, uninspiring way, and this sounds really harsh, but I'm saying that because of what we've seen last night and what we've seen today. So I want an honest answer here, Tendai, and I want to see how much pressure you can put on this South Africa team. Should South Africa be worried about England?
I don't think so, to be honest. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, this will be a semi-final, you know, and a team like England can step up. You know, they've got their history. They played in the last World Cup final, and they still got predominantly most of those players in that squad. So, you know, they've been in search of a big performance. Yes, they've kind of labored their way here and put on average performances and just got over and pipped over the opposition. But I really believe that, you know, they're in search of that big performance, and it could come in the semi-final. So I think for the Springboks, it's not to get complacent. You know, you got to go back to the drawing board, make sure that you know, obviously rest up, recover, come back fresh for the week, and look at this game as an opportunity to play in the final, you know, and play your best game, you know, like they did tonight. So it's so important for them to not relax and take it easy, because England have been subpar. So I think, you know, it's going to be a humdinger next week.
I don't know how much you've seen of England. Obviously at Montpellier you've got a former England coach, England rugby player, and Richard Cockrell.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've seen of them. Is there anything that South Africa should be worried about when they face the England team? Or it's a one-off. It's a repeat of the final.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I know we've got another semi-final in the All Blacks and Argentina. Again, without speaking for anyone else, just my opinion, I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion, and that's all respect to Argentina, who on any given day, and the All Blacks have seen that as well. But have you seen anything from England, any insight with Richard Cockrell that think that they can unsettle South Africa?
No, I agree with you guys. You can't. We haven't seen unless they turn it around. But yeah, for what we've seen already in the World Cup from England, I don't expect any surprises. And I don't really expect any surprises. I don't think it's going to make a big difference if South Africa brings the game that they brought tonight, and the intensity that they had. Like I don't see that changing. So,
bit of a throwaway question, this, from what we've seen, and let's just think that it could potentially be a South Africa-New Zealand final. I mean, I know if you're writing it down, you could guess that could have happened, but did people really want that? I don't know. I'll let the people at home decide. But Paul, who would you say are the favourites now for the World Cup? It's going to be a 50-50 game if it does turn out to be South Africa and New Zealand. But out of the two, let's just go based on the two games that we've seen in Paris over the weekend.
Yeah, no, I would have to go with South Africa. I think, they have the story, they have the history, they have everything that they need to go full on, at least to the final, with the team of New Zealand, I think, as well. So, yeah, I think France supporters have to support South Africa now. So when they win the World Cup, they can say they were taken out by the world champions.
Yeah. The All Blacks last night were sensational, though.
Yeah.
And whenever you speak to South Africans, whenever you speak to guys from New Zealand, we've done a few. We had Andrew Mertens when I brought up South Africa. Shoulders went back. Justin Marshall as well. Skultberger, chatting to him, interviewed Jasper Wiese. I sound like I'm interviewing everyone, but I can't, as in, when you talk about the history between them two, I know we are jumping forward 1 week, Beast, but we might not get you next week. That deep-rooted history between the two teams, 3 World Cups apiece, you know? Hello, Kiss. Here's your agent. What's it like? He's taking it off. Oh, does the fan want it back? Is that why?
Oh, jeez, I'm cold now.
It's worth some money, that, now, if the Beast has worn that. Just that history between the two. We are jumping forward, but let's just pretend we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, there's obviously rich history between, New Zealand and South Africa, and they are arch, rivals. We've had many battles over the past years, and I think they obviously have the, advantage in terms of the number of games that they've won against the Springboks. So they'll probably go into that game, with a lot of confidence, especially with the way they played last night against the Irish. They're on a resurgence, and everybody wrote them off, but they showed who they are, yesterday. But I think, when it comes down to a final, the Boks, the way they played tonight, this was probably, I'd say, the bigger game than last night, to beat the host nation, to knock out France in front probably of 90% of the fans that were French in the stadium tonight, to be able to show that courage and resilience and overcome. I think that's going to bode well in their favour going into the final. But you don't want to go, obviously, think too far ahead. We still got to get over England, and I believe that England can show up next week and play the best game of their lives. But if it's a New Zealand-South Africa final, I'm going with South Africa, especially with the way we played against them last time at Twickenham. I think it's given us a lot of confidence to face the All Blacks.